Amy Posner here today, and I have a really simple short video for you on gathering testimonials and providing proof for credibility. So we all know that third-party testimonials or accolades are way more powerful than what we say about ourselves, right? I can tell you, oh, I'm great and I'm reliable and I'm always on time and I do a great job and whatever else I'm going to say. And you're like, yeah, okay, sure. Prove it to me. Show me. Let's see. If on the other hand, I have 10 people on my website who say, oh, Amy is so reliable. She's always on time. She does excellent work. We've had the best results. And you see, one of those or 10 of those, you're going to go, oh, here's what's true about her, because somebody else has said it about me. It has way more credibility for you than if I say it myself. Plus, I don't know if you find this, but it is very hard to brag on yourself and say all these great and wonderful things. It's way easier to say what somebody else has said. So how do you get those great testimonials? How do you get testimonials at all? So a couple of things that you can do. First of all, anytime you're working on a project, you're inside a project, and anybody on the team says something great about you, either in writing or, verbalizes it aloud, maybe in a Zoom meeting or something. If it's a Zoom meeting with multiple people, you may wait and ask later. But what you want to do pretty much in the moment is, so like say I'm on a phone call with someone or in a Zoom meeting with someone and they say, oh, this last project that you did was so amazing for us. We heard the results we got. This is what's going on. We're thrilled to work with you and we'd really like to do another project. And maybe they've been more detailed than that. The thing for me to say right away is, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. And I'm wondering, would you mind if I used that and attributed it to you? And they'll say, oh, no, of course not. That's, I've never had anyone say no. And especially right then, they're in the mood, they're feeling really good about you, and they're very likely to say yes. And so what you want to do, though, because you want to have on file permission from each person for what you've put on their site. And so what I say to them is, oh, great. Would it be okay if I wrote it up and just sent it over to you for your approval? And then I write it up, exactly what they said. And then I say, if you approve of me using this on my website, would you please just email me back and say, yes, I approve. And then now you have their email on file saying, yes, they approved. Ideally, it's nice to have a picture of them, but before you trouble them to, say, hey, can you send me a picture? Go see if there's a picture you can grab on LinkedIn or on their website. If there isn't one, I would put in that email, I would appreciate your approval. And if there's any chance that you have a high-res picture available that I could use, I'd greatly appreciate it. Some will send it, some won't. Not a whole heck of a lot you can do about that, but it's way more impressive to have pictures. And of course, the more of their information you can use, the more believable it is. So if I can say, it's Joe Smith from Washington, D.C., who owns XYZ.com business, then you can go look at XYZ.com business and see, oh, look, it is owned by Joe Smith. This is legit. Not that people are checking everything out, and usually the more information you have, the more believable it is, and the less they need to check it out. And the picture does that really nicely. So ideally, you want to have the testimonial, their name, their city, their state, their business, and a picture. I would settle for as much of that as I can get. I really don't like testimonials that say Amy P. from the United States. It's like, yeah, there's 10 million of us. How do I know that person's real and not made up? So the more validity there is and the more credibility there is, the better the testimonial. So that's one way to do it. Another way that, good things come back to you or good comments come back to you is by email. You get any kind of comment, or, it could be in some kind of a messaging platform. Maybe you're on the client's Slack platform or in Basecamp or Asana or any other tool with them. And maybe they make a comment like, oh, just read this over. It's brilliant. It's perfect. It's exactly what we needed. Like someone once said to me, I always remembered this comment. He's like, how do you know more about me in 2 months than I know about myself in 10 years? And he meant by himself, he meant his business. Because that's what I do. So, and of course, you can find that testimonial on my website, I think, because I just said immediately, oh, can I quote you on that? That would be so powerful on my website. I'd really appreciate it. He's like, okay, sure. Well, I want to have that on file, so do you mind if I just write it up and I'll shoot it over and you can just hit me back with email and say, yes, I approve? And he's like, oh, yeah, of course. And I did and he did. Asking in the moment is really important, and being really specific in your ask about what you want. Like even me saying like, hey, I'm going to shoot it over, and if you would just write, I approve, and send it back. Now, of course, I'm going to give him that direction in the email, but I've already prepared him that this is going to be a really simple, easy thing to do. Basically, all you have to do is say yes. And again, I will look to see if there's an easily grabbable photo, and if not, I'll ask them for a photo as well. Sometimes people won't give you their photo, but they'll say yes, or they'll say they're going to send one. I would just throw the thing up there on my site And if I get a photo later, all the better, I'll add the photo. But if you can't get it, it's still better to have the attribution than not. Anytime though, we just underscore that. Anytime someone says something complimentary about you, who's working with you, just ask them, hey, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. Would you mind if I use that on my site? You know, everyone in business knows that proof and credibility is really important, and rarely will someone say no. The other way that you can ask for a testimonial, so in this case, someone hasn't, said some brilliant thing that you're trying to capture. In most cases, you know whether a client was happy or unhappy, or, how forthcoming they are. So at the end of the project, you'll circle back to them, and you'll do your offboarding. And sometimes in the offboarding, I'll say to them, I'd really like to get a few comments from you that I can use on my site. Would that be okay with you? Almost always people will say yes. Now, the challenge becomes nobody wants to write for the writer. People are very cagey/shy about writing up an actual testimonial because they're afraid it's not going to sound right. That's one thing. The other thing is people just don't have the time. And for me as a writer, writing a testimonial probably takes me 5 minutes, maybe 10, literally. As a non-writer, it could take you a half an hour. And most people don't have spare half hours sitting around in their day. So if you say to them, so I might be writing to someone like a client saying, hey, Stuart, thank you so much for all the, the kind things you've said in the project, or I'm so happy that the satisfaction you expressed on the offboarding call. I would love to get a testimonial from you. If that's something that you would be willing to do, if you could just send me, say, 4 or 5 bullet points about what you appreciated, and really you can keep them simple. They can be just a couple of words each. I will then craft that into a testimonial and I'll send it back to you for your approval. So, I won't put anything up until you've gotten to see it, but that way it should make it just super, super easy for you. So what I'm trying to do here is remove the onus of writing for the writer, number one. And number two, I'm just trying to make it super easy for them. I want a favor and I don't want it to be a big imposition or a big time suck for them to do what I'm asking them to do. And I found most people are really happy to do it. I do find, though, if you're asking someone, it's best to ask right away. Because, especially for us copywriters, here's what happens. We do our part of the project. Sometimes we're working, in conjunction with the web developer or the web designer, and sometimes things are happening in parallel. But more often than not, we hand off the copy and now it goes into the design and development stage. And that part can be a hassle. It's not that much fun. It's technical, it's mechanical, but people won't be feeling quite as enamored with the copy at that point. They'll be on to, because they see your copy as part of the same project, right? Like say it's you written web copy. The project is getting the new website up. So they dealt with the copywriter, they worked with you, you were great. Now they're moving on to the next phase, and maybe it's not so great. And so the whole project gets sort of surrounded by that not so greatness. So you want to get them right when they're happiest, right when, they're really pleased about the job you did. And so that's right away. That's pretty much immediately after you finish the project. Now, if you're asking for results-based feedback, obviously that's going to take a little longer, but I would still ask them for testimonial feedback about working with you. Because here's the thing, you can go back for the results later, but if the results aren't great, or if they don't really track the results like a lot of people don't, it's going to be very hard to, sort of rewind and ask for the first thing. So get the first thing first, which is just, any comments about, and you can do this in the form of, a lot of people do this, in the form of a survey or an offboarding questionnaire. I personally just like to make the ask and have it be a standalone ask. I've made a real mission to get as many good testimonials as I possibly can. And so I always ask right after the project. And I tell people, look, I'm going to stick around. I'm not just handing this over to you and saying, hey, hope it works. See you, bye. I want to know how it works. I want to know how it performs. I want to be able to have the opportunity to tweak and optimize so you can get better results. Notice I'm not saying tweak and optimize for free. That may be a secondary project, but it's really important for the client to know, hey, you're going to stick around. So when I'm sticking around to get results, which I always will do, if the results are good, I'll say, hey, can I use these numbers? And that can be folded right into the testimonial I've already got from them. Amy was great to work with. She was so reliable, so professional. And not only that, but we got a 33% return on XYZ. And I'll just add that in. But I would do that secondarily. And I promise you, if you get great results, nobody's going to feel put out that you've already asked for one thing and now you're asking for another thing. They're more than happy to do it. Almost to a person. I really actually never had anyone say no. And so what you want to do is make sure that you always make it as easy for them as possible. I would love to attribute this to you. Could I write it up and send it for your approval? Well, hey, if you would just give me a couple of bullet points. And I've been known to ask people that inside a call or even the offboarding call, like, I'd really love a testimonial for you. I'm just so happy that you were pleased with the work. Would you be up for that? And, oh, sure. I say, well, if you wouldn't mind, if you've got just literally another 60 seconds, would you give me 3, 4, 5 bullet points about what you liked about working with me? And then I'll take it and write it up and send it over for your approval. Would you do that? And usually people say yes. And the nice thing about it, it's out of the way. You got through 5 points. You can write it up. You can send it to them. Now you don't have to send an email, wait for a return email. I often think people have the best intentions and they're just busy. They don't get to stuff. So as streamlined and as easy as you can make it for them to do you the favor, the more results you're going to get. Be sure that you gather testimonials and know that results testimonials are not the only things that are valid. And I also want you to know this because it's kind of odd, but it can be very hard to get results from people. A lot of clients don't want to share them. A lot of people don't track as well as you would think they would for the types of companies they are. I have been so surprised so many times by that. And so don't take it personally. A lot of times it has nothing to do with you. You can talk about results. You can talk about what you did. You can talk about how these mechanisms all work. And in many cases, that's equally impressive. I just want to get you off of feeling that you have to have a certain thing in order to win a certain project, because that is almost never true. As long as you have the skill set. You've got to have that. Okay, well, I hope this helped. I want to encourage you to ask for all the testimonials that you can anytime anyone says anything good about you, because it's like a megaphone on your site saying how great you are, where I can say it like about me all day and it's pretty meaningless. So I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, pop them below. I actually read all the comments and I'm happy to answer. And if you'd like to get notified when these episodes drop, you can click the bell. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.